Support WrestleTalk!
Be kind to each other in the comments. Bobby Lashley, Bobbles Splashly, look at that ass, walking Armageddon, the Hurt Business CEO, the almighty era has begun because Lashley won the WWE Championship from The Miz. You know, that really long WWE Championship reign he deserved. I'm Mr. Davis. I'm joined by Lukewarm Luke Owen. We'll get to all of the Bobby Lashley stuff and the full episode of Raw very, very shortly. But first, we're just going to talk about what happens with Bobby now. Because now he's won it, I don't actually want to have Bobby versus Drew at WrestleMania like I thought I did. Because that means Bobby's got to drop the title back, right? I want Bobby versus Brock.
Well, we talked about this on last week's show because we actually had quite a lot of people messaging, with their predictions that Bubbles was going to win the belts here and was then going to retain against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania so he can then go on a lengthy run and build to a match against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. So we don't do the Brock match at Mania. We have Lashley retain against Drew because everyone's probably thinking, Drew's going to get the belt back. No. Bubbles retains, and then he carries that through till we get the match at SummerSlam, which I would still say that Bobby retains. Like Bobby beats Brock, and then we can have, Bobby lose the title at, either a B pay-per-view or I guess towards Survivor Series. Maybe even holds on to it until like Rumble next year. Although I think by that point, people will be, he's had the belt for too long. Like Drew people got bored of him as champion because he had the belt for a handful of months.
They're booking him too well. There's a baby face I actually like at the top of the company. Boo. It's all about the chase, though. Just to give a landscape of Brock Lesnar and WWE at the moment, of course, we haven't seen him since last year's WrestleMania 36, where Drew McIntyre beat him for the WWE Championship then. That was the last date of Brock's last known WWE contract, which expired that same date. That's not unusual. That's how Brock does business. Because when you don't have a contract, you've got a lot of leverage if they want you back. And he flirted with UFC. It was Brocktober with their video game there. WWE removed all his merchandise from the shop in August. There has been no rumblings. In fact, I would say WWE have gone out of their way to not push the Lesnar stuff. There's been no mention on TV. Paul Heyman's on SmackDown with Roman Reigns. I don't think Brock is coming back for a Mania match. I think it's too short notice. I think if that was happening, they would know and they would have teased it.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one, just ever so slightly, only because this is, it's the first show they're doing with a big group of fans in attendance. And WWE are going to want to pull out the big guns to ensure that they're putting on the best 2 nights of Mania possible. So to me, that says that's why Shane is getting a match. We're going to get a Triple H match. We'll probably get a Goldberg match. Only because Goldberg's got 2 matches on his contract per year. He's had one at the Rumble. If he's not doing one at Mania, then he's probably going to do it at SummerSlam. But I could see them trying to get one going to Mania. And that also then makes me think that there's plans for Brock as well, because they want to make sure that their biggest stars are on their biggest show. And this is going to be their, pardon the pun, their big show for this year. This actually is going to feel like a big WrestleMania because it's the first one that's with fans in attendance.
It's still going to be weird, though, with 2 nights of Mania. I think it does somewhat, what's the word, dissipate. It spreads the sort of big matches too thinly. So you think, if you had to put good money right now, because Bobby Lashley as well, he did an interview with Gary Cassidy of Inside the Ropes before he won the title, and he very much said Drew. Obviously he wants the Lesnar match. He has done for years. Before he returned to WWE, he told people, Bobby himself told people, I'm returning to WWE because they've promised me a match with Brock Lesnar. And he comes back and he gets the sisters storyline, the Leo Rush storyline, the Lana storyline. Thank God for MVP and the Hurt Business.
Because I think absolutely.
Surely, WWE usually do 3-year terms. But at least back when Bobby returned in 2018, that was before AEW, remember, that was before All In actually happened. I think he's on a 3-year deal that would expire around April this year. So they're like, we want him to re-sign or something. I haven't heard this. I'm just going by what other, how other contracts from the time were. They're like, we did promise him that Lesnar match. Let's give him the championship and we'll get Brock back later on.
So having said Brock, there's every chance the WWE are like on the phone to Brock being like, hey, Mania's just around the corner. How you feeling, pal? We've actually seen this on the Last Ride documentary with The Undertaker. It's just like, Undertaker can't walk. Vince McMahon's on the phone being like, WrestleMania's around the corner. How you feeling, pal? And, but I think based on what happened at Elimination Chamber it was Bobby that beat down Drew. It was Bobby that essentially won the title for The Miz. And now Bobby has got the belt. Drew beat Sheamus in a very, very definitive manner on this show as well. That we are heading towards Bobby versus Drew for the title. If I was to put good money on what my prediction is for the Mania title match, it would be Bobby Drew. But I do like the idea that we are going to build towards Bobby and Brock at some point, because I think that is actually a pretty mouth-watering concept and idea, and something that we haven't seen in WWE for a while.
I think we're being too greedy if we want Lesnar back. I think the story of Bobby versus Drew is well told. But I do see why people will be somewhat frustrated by it. It's kind of like when Roman Reigns was on top of the company. The stories they told with Reigns were coherent. They were good. They were long-term booking. The problem there was that Roman didn't emotionally connect with the majority of the audience in the way they wanted him to, and that was as a good guy. So, yeah, I think they're going to go with Drew versus Bobby. I don't think the Drew backlash, which you do see around, I don't think it's that big.
I don't think
and I think it's kind of insincere as well. It's nowhere near the level of what was against Roman Reigns. But surely that means Bobby wins. I am going to be a bit frustrated if Drew wins the title back, because this Bobby run and push is really hot right now.
Yeah, it's really, really strong. And I do agree with you that I think if fans were still in the building, if fans were still in arenas, Drew would still be cheered just as much as he was at that Rumble win. I think that the anti-Drew sentiments and messages that we've had on this channel, I think is a very, very small pocket of people. It would never be at the level that Roman Reigns was at, where it's just like, you're burn him, boo, that instant visceral reaction. I still think there would be an incredible baby swell reaction behind Drew. And part of me thinks that, and we said this after Elimination Chamber, the idea of putting the title on The Miz, taking the title off of Drew, felt like it was just that they could put the belt back on him at WrestleMania in front of fans. But with that said, as much as I don't think I would be as frustrated with it as you might be, part of me I think would, because I want to see Drew as champion again, and I want Drew to have that moment in front of fans that he didn't get last year. There is a bit of me that's like, but Bobby's hot right now. Bobby feels like he has something. He's so hot right now. Have you seen the sweat? His ass? Have you seen his ass? He's so hot right now.
Oh wow! I was going to go for the sweatiness, temperature hot.
I'm going to.
You went straight for the bottom.
Straight for the butt. I'm always in the butt. To quote one Pete Quinnell,
I'm an ass man.
What an idiot! He looked like an idiot there.
Like an absolute idiot there. So what was I saying? I just feel like Bobby's he's so hot right now. That Hansel is so hot right now. And I think that you want to kind of ride that momentum. Plus, they've been booking him so well for these last few months, this really sort of dominating competitor. And now he won this in a total squash match. This was an out and out squash match against The Miz. That I think you're either building him up so that you can have the babyface conquer him in equally dominating fashion, or Bobby is going to go on a lengthy run with the belt. And kind of probably for the first time in a while, I'm happy with either direction that WWE are presenting.
Let's see what the chat thinks. We've been told by producer Rich that the majority of the chat seems to want Lashley versus Drew at Mania, so not Lashley versus Lesnar. Although Brock Lesnar's name did trend on Twitter following Bobby Lashley's title win. So that means Bobby Lashley won the WWE title, and Brock's name seemed to trend over the top of him, as did Randy Orton's name, who's still trending because he threatened to beat up a rapper.
Yes. Yeah, I had no idea what this was about until I saw Pacitti tweeting about it. And I was like, what the hell's Pacitti on about? Yeah, so that was very weird. But like, we get this a lot on these live shows as well. Is that as soon as someone wins the belt, you'll get a hyper chat in being like, "Who do you think is going to win the belt next?" I think people there is a portion of fans that are like, "Thank you next" when it comes to their WWE or AEW champions. We've had a lot of that with AEW as well. Like, who is going to be the person to win the title next?
It's a fun conversation topic. Yeah. Apparently, the majority sentiment in the chat was Lashley versus Drew, with Lashley going over at Mania.
I kind of like that idea.
So, WrestleTalk.com/support. Get your hyper chats in. We'll read out every single one of them before the end of the show. Josh Razuska says, wow, Lashley actually won the WWE Championship on TV. I'm surprised there was no screwjob ending. Good for him. Having someone new in the picture is interesting. Ket says, The Miz was buried last night. What happened to him much proves that he was a joke champion and not a main event guy. I'm sorry to all you Miz fans, but last night proved that. Congrats on Big Bob winning the title, though. He truly earned it.
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation last week as well, didn't we? About like, there is, these Miz fans who are genuinely thrilled that Miz won the title and he was going to get this big lengthy run. But I think there were more realists among us that were like, he's a transitional champion. Like I thought he was going to lose the belt 24 hours after winning it. I'm surprised he lasted 7 days.
Colby Dennis, why was Riddle cheering on Lashley when Lashley won? Was having a normal conversation with Cedric. I feel like Hurt Business has made Riddle's life hell these last 2 to 3 months. It made no sense at all.
Colby could not agree with you more. Like, I was watching this match and all of a sudden I was like, Riddle is out there and he's cheering on Bobby Lashley and he's laughing up. Why is that man cheering on? I will say, like, that was, the sort of laughing in frustration. The one that made me laugh the most, though, was Retribution coming out as the Lumberjacks, because nothing says anti-authority. Nothing says we're just going to take control of this company like being Lumberjacks for a WWE Championship match because you were asked.
Oh, it's all part of the plan, though, isn't it? Somewhere jarred with me a lot as well. You can sort of rationalize it by saying, well, Riddle's a stoner, he doesn't know what's going on, or Miz is such a heel, it brings everyone else together. But no, it stuck out like a sore thumb. Scott Young, I want Roman versus Lesnar. Paul Heyman on a pole match?
Yeah. Well, actually, I kind of like the idea of Heyman managing both, like Heyman bringing Brock in to be like, I'm going to manage both of the champions on both brands. I've got the tribal chief on one, I've got the beast on the other.
It feels like Heyman is booking Lashley right now.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, this feels very Heyman-esque.
Stephen Guzman, I need Bobby to retain at WrestleMania. Between how awesome the Hurt Business has been and how much Drew as champion started to grow stale to me after the Autumn feud, this could be something that could make me want to watch Raw. Bobby actually makes me care.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to read Stephen's other message as well? Because he does continue.
Ah, yes. Also, I can't be the only one who found it hilarious that Retribution's first feud was with the Hurt Business, and now they low-key played an active role in helping make sure Bobby Lashley became champion.
Stephen, have you forgotten that the Hurt Business got rid of Retribution? And part of that was then they got a Raw Tag Team Championship match. They got rid of them, and they're no longer a part of Raw anymore. I wonder if it is that Orton thing. Like, that never-ending Orton feud is what's turned people on Drew as champion.
Yeah, it was on such a hot run. Like Bobby Lashley, a great match with Dolph Ziggler. Like, everything he was touching turned to gold. Then Heyman lost his job as executive director of Raw, and it's like from that moment on, boom. It's the Randy Orton feud, repetitive, stretched out for 3-4 months. Title traded back and forth for no reason. Perry Jacques, Lashley's sister to AEW confirmed?
I mean, Big Show's gone. You may as well sign at this point.
Well, I didn't actually know this until relatively recently. That it's Max Caster was one of the sisters.
Was he really?
The Acclaim's Max Caster.
Huh. I did not know
He's in the freaking ladder match on Sunday.
He might be. He's facing off against Preston Vance. I also found this out listening to the Fightful podcast today. Did you know that Beer City Bruiser was the fake Bray Wyatt in a Raw angle once? I know, right?
Kyrick. Lashley, I don't know, I'm pretty excited for him being champion. Also, if it's not too much trouble, can I get Luca Rolli to tell me happy birthday? It's my birthday today. Happy birthday, Kyrick.
Happy birthday, bud.
Jam that jam. At Riplet20. Lashley was so deserving of this. So was Miz. The cash-in should have happened at TLC to give Miz more time as champion, but this was Lashley's time.
I mean, the cash-in did happen at TLC. And he cashed in to be part of that WWE. And it was actually the perfect way to get the briefcase off of him. But then they booked themselves into the corner by just giving it back to him.
Miz did look. This story, we'll come on to it when we review Raw very shortly. It's a great one-night storyline for Miz to dodge and duck the challengers. That's it. That storyline gets very old very quickly. We've done this. We lived through this already.
And we know that it gets old very quickly because they did it a decade ago. We know it gets stale very quickly.
Speaking of a decade ago, Reece Johnson, afternoon lads, another noughties WWE mid-carder is champion. I have mixed feelings about this. Yeah, Bobby has looked great. However, all the damage done the past few years, I wish they'd push new talent. How much better this story would have been with Keith Lee.
Now, there's part of that I do agree with because there is this whole thing about cultivating new talent. One of the reasons I was so down on The Miz being in this position was because it was a position we've had 10 years ago, and the company feels like it's a never-ending rotating wheel. It's never actually moving forward. It's just spinning in place. But with Bobby, I kind of disagree because Bobby was never really been given this real level of push. This is sort of the push that Bobby should have been given when he came back, but Vince kind of didn't really know what to do with Bobby. He just thought him as like, well, you need to be a smiling family man because that's what I see as a baby face now, is this family man type character. He's been desperately trying to get that character over for years now. He did it with Bobby, did it with Kofi, did it with Kevin. Like, he's been desperate to get it's the Emelina gimmick. He's been desperate to get that over with someone. Finally got it with Carmella. So I disagree with you because I think that they've done such a great job over the last year of making Bobby feel credible and making you forget about all that stuff that happened in the first 2 years of him coming back, that it's worked for me.
I agree with both of you. If you take the last year, this is great. Bobby's exciting. He's been booked very strongly. And I love the idea that he's got a faction around him. If you zoom out, this is a damning indictment of WWE. He's the oldest ever first-time winner of a WWE Championship, if you don't include Vince McMahon, the Mr. McMahon win in 90-something, 98? 99. So it's, and yet, at the end of the day, Bobby Lashley wasn't ready in that first ECW World Championship win that he got, and yeah, became a bit of a mid-carder, and he left, and he improved, and he came back, but yet, Is that usually that's a sign of growth that a mid-carder a decade ago is now a champion and a main eventer, but that's not the way it went. So yeah, I totally agree, Reese. Mm-hmm. WWE is terrible. But if you zoom in and just take this as a microcosm, it's very good. Those aren't contradictory. We've got a lot of Lashley Hyperchats, so we'll get to them after the main play-by-play part of the review. But before we do that, it's a new channel. Yes, it is.
Sorry, were you throwing that over for me to do the plug there? Yes, sorry. Well, this is the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't been around for a little while, we did a super content shakeup because we wanted to make sure that you guys were getting the best viewing experience. We'd been advised by some very brainy boffins through YouTube, etc., that our content was kind of strangling itself because there were people who just watched the news, there were people who just watched the podcast, and there were people who just watched Adam's List, not on microphone. And because of that, all three of those video types being on the same channel were just eating each other up. So they've been split off, they've been fractured, and they're now on their own new home. So you should be able to get better content out of us now. You should be able to get these more appearing in your feed. And, hopefully for us as well, we should get some new viewers out of this as well. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. So thank you all so much for joining us on this new channel. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. We are, I think, about 600 people off from reaching 40,000 subs. So, I mean, there's 1,800 people watching this stream at the moment. So I can't imagine all 1,800 of you are subscribing. So if you click that subscribe button now, maybe we'll get over the 40K mark while we're on air.
Oh, do it, please. Right, so this episode of Raw began with it was very recap heavy, this episode. It was like a 4-minute recap of the previous week. And then it opened with Drew McIntyre coming down to the ring to cut a promo, recapping what happened at Elimination Chamber.
I've read this now. Like, he recaps the story we literally just heard in the opening video package. So like the first 5 minutes of this show, maybe even more than that. Maybe was just like, here is everything that you already know. And then this segment was just, it never ended. It was just someone comes out, they talk. Someone else comes out, they talk. Someone else comes out, they talk. Someone else comes out and they talk. And finally, Drew's just like, right, let's just fight. Let's just have a fight, lads, because I'm bored of this now.
Yeah, they did do a good job of, MVP came out and was like, 9 o'clock. The title match is going to be at 9 o'clock. So that's good. But you also have Miz coming out doing the chicken S-word stuff. And the problem is when you get the wrestlers doing the recap stuff like this, everyone does it in WWE. They're obviously told to. And it's just such a waste of time. And it makes the wrestlers look so wooden and artificial and hard to invest in. This is the job of an announcer or a video package. And WWE have those things.
Yeah, which we absolutely got. Like, I do think this episode of Raw is... I mean, I've got kind of very mixed feelings about this because I very much enjoyed all of the Bobby Lashley Miz stuff. I thought it got a bit long in the tooth a little bit, but I actually, for the most part, really enjoyed the Bobby Lashley Miz stuff. But I thought the rest of the show, outside of Drew Sheamus, was absolutely toilet. A really bad show.
Yeah, I agree. But so overall, it's like more good than it was bad.
Yeah.
And it has made me excited, the end, but yeah, the really terrible bits in this. But like Luke said, the opening match, once we sat through about 15-20 minutes of now I'm coming out, we got Drew versus Sheamus, which was brilliant. Like, they had a pay-per-view match on TV.
Yeah, this was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely corking stuff. Hilariously, though, Tom Phillips opened this up by saying, this is a pay-per-view main event quality match. I'm like, Tom, the storyline was that Sheamus is not good enough to main event a pay-per-view. That's why we're in this position, Tom. So it's not. According to you guys, it's not a pay-per-view main event quality match, is it?
This is my problem with it. I love the match. It went through 2 commercial breaks. There was so many cool spots. Like, Drew's obviously got a very good attention to detail with stuff. Like, you see that through the Randy Orton callbacks and their series of matches. Just how he uses his and his opponent's movesets to tell a story of struggle. I think it's brilliant. But throughout this match, there's just this undertone of, oh man, this is real bad for Sheamus. Because like you said, the whole story is, Sheamus, you're not good enough to main event a pay-per-view against Drew McIntyre. And the only reason you would say that is for Sheamus to then prove them wrong, and then you get Sheamus works his way up to get that match. That's how you tell a story. If you don't tell that story, you're just burying a guy on TV for no reason.
Yeah, and it's a shame because Sheamus has been having, like, this is the best work that Sheamus has done in his WWE run, because Sheamus has always been great, but I think he kind of, they booked him into a mold where I don't think it was getting the best out of him. But since he's come back from the injury, like, I loved his run with The Bar, but at the same time, it was like, yeah, these two are great together, but they're also very good single stars, and they should be in much better positions than just this tag act that's just constantly feuding with the New Day. But like, then Sheamus picked up the injury, and now he's been back since January of last year. I feel like it's January because that's when I interviewed him about this, and he is just doing the best work outside of the Jeff Hardy throwing piss in his face stuff, which I could do without. His in-ring work has been seconds to none. This has been the best that Sheamus has looked in his entire WWE run, which is a decade plus. And this match with Drew McIntyre might be one of the best examples of it because it was a fantastic match. And when it was done, I was like, yeah, that should have been a pay-per-view main event match for the title.
The finish was great because
so
it did feel like it could have gone either way at the end because it was so back and forth throughout. Sheamus went for the bro kick and Drew went for the Claymore at the same time. And it's kind of like that photo finish kind of end to a match. I described it in my review earlier as like when two people, like two knights, hit each other's swords and one of the swords crumbles. It's kind of like that. But if Sheamus just had a little bit of a longer leg, a little bit of a platform shoe on, he would have hit Drew first. Maybe he turns the bro kick into his own Claymore.
I love this. And I love like they were hitting each other's moves as well, like that, to play off this sort of long friendship that they've had. Drew hit the white noise, Sheamus hit the Alabama slam. Like there were some really nice moments. As you said, like Drew is a man who's very attention to detail orientated. And I think Sheamus is in a way too. I just thought this was absolutely tremendous stuff.
Oh, strap in, everyone, because then it gets crap. After this, Naomi, you know how they do that? They're filming backstage. They're going to go to break. And there's Naomi. She's warming up. She's dancing. She walks forward. Boom, there's Nia Jax in her face. And she's surprised. I'm like, I know how corridors work. Nia Jax would have been there in full view of you for the last 20 seconds while you were warming up. Unless she hopped out of a door, in which case you would have seen that.
And then, because they've done this gimmick where, MVP has said the WWE Championship match is happening at 9:00, they have this timer on screen that's been like, there's only 10 minutes left until the WWE Championship match. And Naomi makes her entrance. And I'm like, well, this is not going long then, is it? Like, these two aren't getting time.
Yeah, and it didn't. Surprise. And Naomi got really, thrown around here. It wasn't like she got any offense in. Nia Jax won. I cannot wait to see Nia Jax and Lana take on Shayna and that's whatever it is, whatever the combination of people are for the women's tag titles.
Yeah, because this is kind of my feeling on it, because they advertised, this coming Wednesday, it's Nia and Shayna. They're going to NXT to face Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. So I was like, okay, so actually Jax getting this dominating win, that does a little bit something to build that tag match that's coming this Wednesday. But it does a terrible job of building the other tag match that you're building to, which is between Lana and Naomi. Like, you've literally just squashed one half of that team. So it's done diddly dick to build this match, but it's done something a little bit good to build the other match.
I like the countdown timer, though. I thought that was very effective, provided a good episode narrative backbone. I wouldn't have had this match. I would have just, look, you've got 3 minutes to fill, right? That's how long this Naomi Jax match went. Don't put a match on. It's so telegraphed that it's going to go short. Just cut to MVP, make it more sports orientated, cut to Samoa Joe, do those sorts of AEW style sit down interviews where they dive into, well, I think Lashley could do this, boom, boom, boom.
Or give Drew Sheamus 3 more minutes.
Yeah. After that, we got the Bobby Lashley Miz match. Bobby comes out, but Miz, he's got a problem. He's got a cramp. He can't go out. And Adam Pearce is like, okay, don't go out then. He's not an authority figure. I don't know why he's saying these things. They don't mean anything in the power structure of Raw. It says he needs more time. It will be pushed back till later. So Bobby goes backstage, beats him up. And I got from this that Miz pooed himself.
Well, they said that he had cramps. And that's why he couldn't do it. He hadn't crapped himself. He had cramps. So his stomach pains meant that he couldn't go out there and wrestle at his full potential.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When I get stomach cramps, maybe I'm unique, but that usually foreshadows it's going to go down. It's going to go down in the toilet.
Oh, and ones and twos.
After Miz was beaten up by Lashley, John Morrison kept on saying, "Can we get a towel? Can we get a towel?" and then Miz slowly moved one hand to hold his bum. I'm surprised you weren't looking, because you are an ass man.
I am, like Pete Quinnell, I am an ass man. I mean, I'm going to go with Denise Salcedo, WrestleTalk Podcast, Denise Salcedo, some of the Fight review, that she thought he had period cramps. Like he was in the sort of position that she finds herself in every now and again throughout the year. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was less poo related. Maybe it was more period related.
Yeah, I think this was a way to pop Vince and the poo stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that's coming back later. We got a Rhea Ripley coming soon video package and all of this. They have no idea what they're going to do with her.
Nope, absolutely no plans whatsoever. And now that Lacey Evans is out, the women's division has crumbled because they've got no direction for anyone.
But it is Mania season. The biggest stars are coming back. It's your friend and mine, Shane McMahon. Because next up, out came Braun Strowman. He cut a promo. He's annoyed at Shane. And Shane McMahon and Adam Pearce come out and say, wait, and Shane's like, hey, you're really angry, so I've booked you in a tag match. Your partner's going to be, drumroll, Adam Pearce. And you can work together and you can resolve your conflicts that you have. You're going to get a tag title shot. And Braun's like, oh, okay, if it's for a tag title shot. And then Hurt Business come out. I'm like, oh my God, how can you do this to the Hurt Business on the same show where you're pushing Lashley so hard? Strowman just annihilates Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander in a minute, then tags in Pearce on Shane's command. Pearce steps through the ropes, gets rolled up by Shelton, fluke win, they retain. Everyone looked bad.
This was rubbish. Every single thing about this was absolute bobbins. Strowman comes out and he's like, well, I'm Shane McMahon, Adam Pearce got a problem with me. Elimination Chamber sucked without me. I don't know, tag match, don't know who my partner is. Then Shane and Pearce come out, right? And Shane's the babyface. And we know he's the babyface because they're piping in Shane O'Mac chants. So what does Shane do? He acts like a heel against Adam Pearce and acts like a complete tool. So I'm like, is he because Braun's definitely not the babyface in all of this. I'm pretty sure he's not the babyface. Shane 100% isn't the babyface, despite the piped-in chants. And then it just made the Hurt Business look like absolute jabronis in all of this. The only way that these two got any momentum in this match, which was very, very minor, was because Braun ran into the post, which, as we all know, is his kryptonite. And it just made everyone look so... And then Shane's acting in all of this. Because Shane did some acting here. Like from the promo at the start when he's like, about conflict resolution. Now I've taken some management classes and we're going to have some conflict resolution. You need to work with WWE management. I'm not working with WWE management, Shane. And then at the end of this, when he makes Braun tag out and Pearce gets rolled up and Braun's like, and Shane has to act. And Shane can't do this. So Shane has just got a face. He's just doing a face. It was so awful. This was... And then remarkably, it's not the worst thing on the show, but it was really, really poo.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with Shane's vague facial expressions, what emotions he's feeling. I think just based on how the actions he had for the rest of the show, which was very overly babyface. You know, he was on Bobby's side to get the title off of Miz, although, what's Bobby? Is everyone a heel now? Is this what WWE meant about Shades of Grey? That it's all just heels?
But it's not Shades of Grey, it's Shades of Beige. Like no one feels like they have any definition to them.
Come on, it's a good tan that Shane has. Let's not call it beige. I thought this was bad. I don't like Shane McMahon's work in this. Have you noticed that Braun calls everyone management? As though we don't know that that's authority figures.
They're not authority figures, Ollie. Stop saying that they are. We're the authority now.
Doesn't bloody feel like it. Why wasn't it Nicholas? If I was the authority figure, Nicholas is walking out to be Braun's tag partner here. Yeah, that was rubbish. Next up, we got more bad stuff because he was doing well.
Yeah, he was.
Damien Priest called up Royal Rumble, paired with Bad Bunny. Looks amazing. Get loads of mainstream attention. Then on the third week, Bad Bunny won the 24/7 title. It'll be okay, Luke said. It's just for the Saturday Night Live promo, he said. I said, I don't know. On paper, Damien Priest on his third week is now involved in the 24/7 title. He had a match last week where he sold quite a bit, but I didn't mind it because it ultimately built to him having a hot comeback and winning against Angel Garza. Here, he had a long competitive match with Elias, which he won in the end, sure, whatever. But he did rest holds. He did rest holds in the opening 2 minutes. What the hell?
And you say that he sold. He was selling for like 2/3 of this match. Like this was almost all Elias. This was no good, but this is a magnifying glass on WWE's inability to tell stories, right? Because the story that they're telling leading into WrestleMania is Bad Bunny and Damien Priest versus Miz and Morrison. So they were doing that. Sorry, someone keeps trying to call me. I'm just going to put my phone into airplane mode. So they were telling that story, right? And that was all grand. And they were actually doing a fairly decent job of telling that story, although Damien Priest was beating them a lot, but they were telling a fairly decent story. Problem is, Miz then won the WWE Championship. So they're like, oh, okay, well, we now need to remove Miz from that story for a little bit. Well, what's Damien Priest going to do? I've no idea. Maybe he can go out there and have a competitive match with Elias because they didn't know how to, they can't do two stories at the same time or take him off TV for 2 weeks because there's 3 hours to fill. So you have to then go out there and sell for Elias for 70% of a match.
Just squash people.
Well, I know that, dude, but there's 3 hours to fill. So you've now got to go out there and have a 10-minute match with Elias.
Give Naomi Nia Jax more time from earlier. Move that here.
But the Bobby Lashley match had to go on the hour because you had the countdown clock. I don't make the rules. I'm just here to report what happened. Not even report.
So Damien Priest is currently at Elias's level, paired with a celebrity who's got the 24/7 championship. It's not looking good.
It's a 2-week rut. He's still getting that Mania match. Do you know what? Like for me at the moment, it's what happens after
the Mania match.
Well, that's exactly it. That's it's what happens after Mania, really, because that's when Bad Bunny goes, and that's when Priest has got. I mean, maybe Bad Bunny be around until he's allowed to tour again. Who knows?
What an astounding, consistent run of badness! Because after that, we got the most laughable thing on this episode.
Did you write down what Kayla Braxton said?
No.
Oh,
I was meant to write
did.
what happened afterwards.
Oh, and I got that as well. I got what Byron said. So Kayla Braxton is interviewing Randy Orton, and she asks him about, and I quote, these increasingly bizarre events with Alexa Bliss.
No kidding.
Increasingly bizarre events.
I'm perplexed that the fabric of reality has been weekly rewritten in front of my eyes. Yeah.
Please talk us through what happened in this Hall of Fame worthy segment. What was WrestleCrap's Hall? Like, this is like proper WrestleCrap stuff. It was kind of glorious in a way.
I feel like no one's talking about this because of the Lashley stuff. But this to me is old day. This is your life, Bailey. You know, this was so crap in a feud and storyline that's really gone off. It's already shaky rails. So, as we know by now, this feud is now 80% comprised of recaps, where people reply to recaps and watch the recap segment from the previous week that recaps the previous week from that segment. It's an infinite regress of when you put two mirrors up next to each other and it just goes on into boring infinity. Or, I don't know, maybe they're trying a live performance art version of when you reply to someone on Twitter or TikTok. And it's like a meme thing. You do this now. So Randy Orton watches a recap of the recap he did last week where he started vomiting blood or black viscous liquid. And then Bliss appears on screen. She's got a Jack in the Box. I actually thought that was a nice touch because the thing about Jack, it happens from out of nowhere. And then it cuts before the Jack in the Box comes out to something truly from out of nowhere. Well, actually, no, I know where it's from. It's from out of the crap bin. It's from out of the toilet. Randy Orton appears on screen in front of Randy Orton, watching on that screen at the most ridiculous backstage WWE angle. It was like they were trying to annoy me. And Randy Orton on the screen talks in a low voice to Randy Orton. And I just was like, this is so bad.
I said this last week, and I think it bears repeating that this company cannot do long-term storytelling, but they have 3 hours to fill, so they feel like they have to do stuff. They know that the end goal is Fiend versus Randy at WrestleMania, likely in a Firefly Funhouse match. And you know what? That match is probably going to be terrific because the Cena match was awesome. And there's so much character stuff in the Randy Orton. Like there's a lot within Randy Orton that you can get out of a Firefly Funhouse match. So I'm going to start this off by saying, I think the end product of all of this is going to be pretty good. However, the last 8 weeks of this, because this has been going on for months now, and they don't know how to progress the story. So what they do is they sit there and be like, what should we do this week? He chucks a black liquid out of his nose. What do we do this week? He sets someone on fire. What did he do this week? A firebolt. Alexa Bliss changes form. They don't know what to do next. So it's just stuff happening. And this is the latest stuff happening. And it was Randy Orton cut a promo on himself in a Fiend voice while wearing contacts that I guess was summoned from a Jack in the Box with a pentagram on it. And then Randy started to choke up again. And then Byron Saxton says, and I quote, "I don't know how Randy Orton escaped this waking nightmare." Anyway, up next is The Miz versus Bobby Lashley.
You and me both, Byron. How do we escape the waking nightmare that is Raw every Monday? Christ alive, this was bad.
It was so rubbish.
After that, we got Miz versus Lashley take 2. They actually had the match this time. The bell rang at least, but Miz immediately ran outside, grabbed the belt, and ran off. Now, when that happened, I started to get worried. And I was like, oh, are they going to keep the title on him? Is Bobby not going to win? So, overall, I thought this was a very effective story because they paid off on it. But that's when MVP went up to Shane McMahon backstage and said, "This is bull S-word." No, it's serious when he says the S-word. And Shane says, if Miz doesn't defend properly by the end of the night, he'll strip him of the title and give it to Lashley. What is Shane? Babyface going by this interaction.
And he's not an authority figure. We know that for sure.
So the timer's restarted. And then so that was good. Let's get back to the bad. Charlotte versus Shayna Baszler. Charlotte Flair gets a pre-match promo where she says that Asuka had her tooth knocked out last week. She's not medically cleared, which is a shoot, apparently, not medically cleared at the moment. And then she just said, she's my friend. I respect her. I'm not going to challenge her while she is out, but I will challenge her for the title when she gets back. So kind of exactly the same thing. What
this promo is that Charlotte came out and said, Asuka has no direction at the moment. So I'm going to give her a direction, and it's me. That's the direction we're heading in.
It was like this was the expression of her promo. I will just give you a direction now. Because the Lacey Evans stuff fell apart.
Yeah. Through no one's fault. Through no one's fault. It's just that they can't do that storyline now. And there was no backup plan. And they've had nothing for Asuka to do. Let's be honest, since Bayley and Banks, which was last summer. So it's just Charlotte, which is what we sort of figured it would be from TLC, but they didn't. They stopped doing that story and just didn't do anything at all. Then they did Alexa Bliss for a couple of weeks, and then that got dropped. And now we're here instead. So
do you think
go on.
Do you think Lacey was going to win the title and it's going on to be Lacey versus Charlotte?
I do, yes, 100%. I think it was going to be Lacey versus Charlotte at WrestleMania. 100%. I figured that's the plan. And now they don't really know what to do. Are they still feuding with Baszler and Jax over the tag titles? Because they keep having like tag matches and feuding with and like having matches with these two. It's no good.
Yeah, so Shayna and Nia came out here. They beat her up before the bell, but when the bell rang, Super Charlotte, she beat Shayna quite handedly with a natural selection, I think it was. Yeah, there we go.
She overcame the odds. So, you know how like the first match, the first women's match we had of the evening, which was Nia Jax squashing Naomi. And I said, well, that, it didn't really build the tag match against Naomi and Lana, but it did sort of build the tag match against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. This match did nothing for the build for that match that's happening on Wednesday because one half of the tag champs just got pinned by Charlotte Flair, who's not involved in the match this coming Wednesday. So this accomplished sweet FA. Absolutely nothing.
Tom Phillips said momentum. Charlotte has momentum now, and that's what it's all about on the road to WrestleMania. After that, we got Lucha House Party and Riddle taking on the Biker Mice from Farts, and they beat them pretty quickly. So Ali was like, well, let me show you how it's done. I want a one-on-one match with Riddle. They had, it was good stuff, obviously, the two guys in the ring, but it was very short. Ali then hit this insane backbreaker thing, which didn't work, I don't think. Like, he just rotated too much off of Matt Riddle in midair. Retribution sort of distracted the referee and interfered, and Ali won.
Yeah, so this started as a six-man tag, which Riddle and the Lucha House Party won. They beat Retribution, and then Ali challenged Riddle to a match afterwards. And as I've written here, he pins him with a top rope thing. It was a top rope move. Yeah, so I guess now that Riddle's 100% done with feuding with the Hurt Business. That much is done. Retribution are done with New Day, I guess. So now Ali's feuding with Riddle over the US title. Hey, that's at least something, I guess. It'll certainly be a decent little fast lane match, maybe.
Yeah, the match will be good. And then finally we got the main event. Miz turned up backstage to shout at Shane, like, you shouldn't let me do this. Not once did he mention their history together.
Well, no, because they're like that's done now. That was years ago. Like, no one's mentioned the fact that Shane lost his job in WWE because Kevin Owens beat him on the first episode of SmackDown on Fox. No one's mentioned Raw Underground. Like, things happen, then they don't happen, and then you never mention them again.
But it could serve the story. Miz is like, you don't like me. I want someone else to come in. I want to speak to your authority figure. I was worried there that they were going to do Shane versus Miz momentarily. And then we got Miz versus Lashley. Under 10 minutes of the show left. Before it starts, Shane sends down a lot of the roster. Not the stars, but most of the roster. And they surround the ring. It's a lumberjack match. And Lashley Tom Phillips had a great word here. Lashley thrashed him. Thrashed Miz. Threw him around the ring. Lumberjacks would throw him back in. Weren't going to help Miz. And Lashley made him tap in the Hurt Lock. And it was awesome. And Lashley celebrated, trying to look mean and scary, which he does. But he was also very, very happy. And you could see him smiling underneath all. And it was very, very sweet. And I'm very, very happy for the guy.
Beyond thrilled, because when they did the match at 9 p.m, I did have in my notes, Bobby's not winning. Like, it's too early in the night. Bobby's not winning here. And then when they did the second match, I was like, okay, I feel like we are heading to, like, they're either going to delay this by another week or he's winning the title at the end of the show. And then, yeah, he won the title by the end of the night. And I actually quite enjoyed it as a show-long storyline. I thought it actually, really worked. I thought Miz played his role very, very well. I liked him trying to manipulate Drew into it. I liked him, with the cramps and then the running out and everything, and being like, look, I gave you a WWE Championship match and I retained. There was some, some stuff near that worked, but as you said at the start of the show, it's a good one-night story. You could not have done this for a lengthy period of time. It was the right time to take the belt off of him. He was not a long-term champion. I'm really happy for Bobby Lashley, although I did have this pang of worry because
when the Lumberjacks came out.
Oh, no. My pang of worry was because Lashley locks in the Hurt Lock, right? Lashley lock. And Miz taps out and Bobby wins. And then Bobby celebrates with her and then he puts it down and he puts Miz back into the Hurt Lock. And I was like, is Shane still there? Because I suddenly thought, oh, Shane's going to reverse the decision because like he got himself DQ'd after the match for kicking too much ass or something. And then he just dropped him. And I was like, phew, okay. No, he's just going to be champion. It's fine now.
Yeah, that felt like the classic. We ran short, folks. Again, I was on the edge of my seat throughout this, even though there was no hint that Miz would ever win. I was like, is Brock Lesnar going to come back and somehow cause a screwy finish? What's Braun Strowman doing? Is Shane going to reveal that he's with the Miz? But no, they isn't that WWE's greatest trick that they make the threat of their own bad decisions so great that they just have to achieve the minimum level of fan satisfaction, and we're thrilled. It's an abusive relationship, folks. That's what we're in. Overall, it was a terrible episode of Raw with a fantastic opener and a through line with a big newsworthy thing at the end. So a 4 out of 5, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad show. Really, really terrible. Outside of the Bobby Lashley Miz stuff and Drew Sheamus, this was one of like an all-time terrible Raw. Like unwatchable garbage. But by the end of it, I was quite happy and I was thrilled that Bobby Lashley was champion. So 3 out of 5 show, I guess. I'm going to quote Tempest, though. Tempest, the wrestler, of course, from WrestleTalk.com fame, just put a tweet out that said, how do people watch this show? This is a genuine question. How do people watch Raw and enjoy it? This show is miserable. Like, it is. And there was a time when I was like, I agree with you. It's a bad show. And I resent that I have to watch it on a weekly basis. But at the same time, Bobby Lashley is the WWE Champion. I'm really happy with that. 3 out of 5 show. Quite happy at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, before we do. The poll was up. 45% 3 out of 5 show from our YouTube community. 33% agreeing with you, 4 out of 5. But it is like, it's in that top percentage there, really, isn't it? Because Rawsome 5 out of 5 was 10%, and Poor and Rawful 2 and 1 out of 5 were below 10% each. So yeah, people seem to be very much on board for this show.
Damn, but you see what happened overall. It should be at least a 4 out of 5. That the stuff that that they screwed up there by not putting on a better show. But we will get to all of your hyperchats very shortly. WrestleTalk.com/support. Get them in. We'll read out every single one of them. But first, it's Patreon shout-out time. Have we got the music, Rich?
Is our music playing, producer Rich?
Is our music playing? The Hall of Fame music?
Music on.
We've got production back. Is he even there? Is he there?
We've got a message. We've got a message. Yes, the music is playing. The music is playing. We can't hear it, but the music is there.
Thank you very much to all our wonderful $25 a month or more pledge hammers on Patreon. Blompier's #1 fan, Tom Delves.
What a great entry. Oh, here's another great one. Christian Cage Casey.
Wonderwall, Brian Gallagher.
Ryan Disco Stewart.
$100 man, CD Horver.
Superkick, Nick Mazesco.
The Kessel Run, DX Solo.
Dustin the Professor Layton.
He can last, Sean fur longer than you in the ring.
The cleaner, Kenny Shaw.
WrestleTalk's personal ring announcer, Rodrigo Benitez.
And lastly, for this Hall of Fame class for the 2nd of March 2021, no one names their kid this anymore, Larry.
Thank you ever so much, all of our wonderful Patreons. Go over to WrestleTalk's Patreon to become a pledge hammer today because the poll is up.
No, it's not. The poll is not.
No, it's not.
The options for the poll are up. So our $25 a month or more, you've just heard some of them there, are now able to suggest the next show for WrestleTalk Extra, which is a show that Ollie and I do. Usually runs between 3 and 4 hours of us reviewing classic pay-per-views. We just did St. Valentine's Day Massacre from 1999, which was a really, really fun show. We go through the Wrestling Observer and like what was in the wrestling news at the time. Current suggestions include WrestleMania 29 there, WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 24, WrestleMania 10. Strong Style Evolved. Look at this. March 25th, 2018. Ooh. And this one from Brian Heath. WrestleMania 31. One of the best modern WrestleManias and probably the best ending to a WrestleMania with Rollins cashing in during the Lesnar-Reigns match. I think that could be a real strong contender to win for WrestleTalk Extra this month.
Be an interesting one to revisit as well, definitely. Also, before we get in with the Hyperchats, there's 2,100 of you watching right now. And we got a few subscribers with 39.7 thousand subscribers. We just need 300 more to break the 40K. Come on, guys. Let's do this.
Let's do it live on stream and we can all have a little, celebratory wank or something. And we can all be really happy that we passed the mark. Not on camera.
Jesus, Luke.
Just your own.
Working from home it's the last time I tell you that is not part of working from home. Not on
Andy
company
told me
time.
It was. Andy said it was. He gave me the permission. Right,
so Hyperchats. Austin Baker, happy birthday to me. Can't wait for the Lashley versus Drew versus Lesnar match. That would be cool. I don't think a triple threat like that will happen, but I do want to see that down the line. Alan Monson, hey guys, I'm happy Bobby won the title and he looked dominant in his win over The Miz. Bobby becoming world champion feels long overdue. Who do you think will be Bobby's first challenger? I think Braun will be his first challenger.
He just beat Braun, so I can't see it being Braun. He definitively beat him on Raw last week, and Braun's now involved in his storyline with Shane. So I don't think it's him. I think it's going to be Drew. I don't think maybe he'll have a title match against Miz at Fastlane, and then they'll call it quits on that, and he can go back to his feud with Bad Bunny.
Drew definitely, and then hopefully AJ Styles for me. Deckary Garman just wanted to say that Lashley is top champion. Yes. Drew versus Lashley is a favourite rivalry for me ever since I was younger watching TNA. I don't want Lashley to be a transitional champion, but I also want Drew to win the title back. Decisions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. We've got two good options.
Tyler Woodward, I don't want Bobby versus Brock. Keep Brock as far away from the title and WWE for as long as possible. Brock still owes us him versus Cormier. That's not happening. In UFC, give us that before Bobby versus Brock.
I kind of agree with Tyler about keeping away from the title picture. I think that might endear people a bit more to Brock as a character. Kind of the same with Goldberg, I think.
Alpha Wolf. I like Drew, but I'm done with him. For now. Drew versus Lashley at Fastlane, then Lashley versus Lesnar at Mania with Lashley retaining, as I can only see Lesnar wrestling once while the pandemic is still ongoing. So happy for Bobby. About time.
I suppose the other question for Brock as well is that he's still in Canada, right? And how strict are Canada with people being able to get in and out? Like, I know that Rude got over and the Dark Order managed to get over.
I think there is a certain amount of money and private jets where you can get anywhere. And I think Brock and WWE can make that happen.
The difference being, though, is that it's something that Brock wants to do. Because he could just go out and shoot a deer instead. Like, if it's option, do I get on a private jet for 7 hours or do I just go and shoot a horse? Like, I've got a couple of options here. I'll probably do the latter.
Brock could shoot a person and no one's going to stop him, I reckon. DVL Trigger 5, realistically speaking, how long do we think we will get to experience Lashley as champion?
That is, I honestly, I don't know. But kind of in my gut, I feel like it's SummerSlam. Like, I feel like we're going to get it for a little while yet. I don't know why, because it kind of makes sense for it to be WrestleMania, but it also doesn't make sense for it to be WrestleMania.
Retains at Mania, loses it to Drew at Backlash, so 2 months. Anton H, looking forward to the in-ring title celebration next week with Bobby and his sisters. But seriously, Lashley didn't sell anything for The Miz and has looked like a dominating monster. Now I don't want him to lose to Drew because of his good booking. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's what we're all feeling.
All right, there you're also getting a phone call coming through.
It's my 90-minute recurring reminder to track my energy levels.
How are they?
10-10! The Decker Dane. I'm absolutely game for a long Lashley title reign. You could build the main event scene of Raw around him and Drew moving forward. Either one of them are decent choices for champion on the brand.
Completely agree. I'd like to see some other names in that title picture as well. But yeah, like a good starting block is that TNA title picture from, 10 years ago.
Samoa Joe, AJ Styles.
Kurt Angle.
Jake Hartley. If we ever get Bobby versus Lesnar, I demand to see Bobbles jump on Lesnar like Goro from Mortal Kombat. To be honest, I just want anyone to do that to anyone. Who would you want to do that?
I just want to jump on Lesnar like Goro and just go like, do. Yeah. I don't know who else. Oh, Bobby's a great shout, I guess.
Charles Berg. When Lashley kept showing his ass, that's when I knew he'd be WWE Champion. In all honesty, he looks like a final boss. Also, Ollie, it was awful to see you duped by the by the Billiard Boys, but I want you to know you'll always have a place as a pancake pal. Thank you, Charles. I remember buttermilk.
Yeah, so I watched it over the weekend. This is obviously Board Game Club playing Blood on the Clock Tower. It is one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. It was so fun, and it was just James did an amazing job of editing it. But I did say to my wife, "Oh, this is the episode where Ollie gets his heart broken," and she came in for the end just to see it all happen, and it genuinely breaks my heart. It's so awful.
Hero Executioner 1996. Thanks for the content, guys. So my question is, who is Bobby facing at Fastlane? Love Bobby as champ, but I agree with Luke. I'm good with either choice of Bobby or Drew. Keep up the great work.
Well, thank you. Not many people do agree with me. I'm going to say Miz as the champion. Just, Miz basically like, I deserve another shot. Uh-oh. Ollie has an idea, clearly.
It's Lashley versus Miz and Morrison in a handicap match.
That's exactly what it is. You have nailed it. That's exactly what it is.
It's going to be a fast lane match imaginable. Oh. Sam Wall. Why was Riddle literally high-fiving members of the Hurt Business when Lashley won? Did the last 3 months mean nothing? Anyways, what do you guys think the landscape would look like if MVP never returned to WWE? What a fascinating what if.
A really good. Oh, but yeah, first part of that, Samuel. Yes, nothing does mean anything. That's a really fascinating what if, because MVP is the man that really turned around the Lashley stuff. Do you remember, like January? It was January last year. Was the Lana wedding? It's not as long ago as you think, and it were bad. And the MVP, like taking over as manager and essentially just rekindling the TNA stuff that they were doing, really, really helped reinvigorate him. I still think they would have done Bobby, but probably with Lana at his side, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kevin, I hope Bobby wins at Mania. Then night after Mania, Keith Lee steps up and challenges Bobby for the title to move on to their next program. In the meantime, Drew goes to SmackDown to feud with Roman. I think that's a good idea. So WWE can label it as unfinished business somehow.
Well, it's unfinished business after Survivor Series. So I think there's definitely a story to be told with Roman Drew. But I think you can actually still hold off on it. But I do like the idea of Keith Lee being the man to step up after Mania.
Micah Pellegrini, remember when Ollie, Mr. Davis, figured out the YouTube algorithm live on stream? Kind of feels like that's what this subscriber push is. I want Bobby to hold the title for a long time. He makes the belt interesting. Good thing Edge didn't pick Drew.
Well, I mean, if he had picked Drew, he'd have got The Miz. So, there was a little while when Edge would have got the best of both worlds. He would have got the best Mania program possible.
Yeah, the ultimate opportunist. Picking the guy before Fastlane. Start recording. Lashley versus Lesnar is set up perfectly. You can have Bobby and Brock just beating the apple juice out of each other in badass brawls and have MVP and Heyman kill it with promos. Oh man, it does sound great.
It does sound really, really good. Yeah, as I said, like if you're going to bring Brock back, I'd really like Heyman to still be his manager as the mouthpiece for him. Because then you can have MVP and Heyman just absolutely killing it on promos.
Sorry, I've just seen the next hyper chat.
Dex Skeldon, Dark Timeline, Randy Orton becomes the Fiend. That's what the Black Bile is. He's actually going to be... That's the new Fiend. It's... David Myers, forgive me if this has already been asked, but is it possible that the black stub Orton copped up is creative's way of mocking COVID? No, absolutely not. It's just they think it's dark, scary, spooky stuff.
That's not a symptom. That's not on the government website to look out for.
On the subject of Braun Strowman, Ronan Cahill says, is it now insulting to Big Show that Braun has been compared to him? I don't even remember Big Show being that dim-witted. Oh, Ronan.
What?
Yeah, I mean, check out his debut, for starters, in 99.
Any WrestleMania match.
Yeah, like one of the storylines leading into WrestleMania is that the Big Show's a big oaf who keeps messing up at WrestleMania, and you had Cody Rhodes
with Cody, yeah,
WrestleMania baby, woo! And then Cody Rhodes watching it going, ha ha ha, woo. Jake Hartley. No one is talking about the fact that it could be Adam Pearce versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, or the triple threat with Braun. Honestly, there's so many bad things to do, and none of them would surprise me. Also, big up to Bubbles. Someone actually tweeted me saying it could be like Shane brings in Dabba-Kato, and you do Dabba-Kato versus Braun in like a Raw Underground rematch. Because that I forgot about this. I didn't saw it through Adam's booking video. That was the final Raw Underground match. Was Braun beating Dabba-Kato.
And it destroyed all of Raw Underground, like King Kong and Godzilla in a city.
And Nate S says, Strowman Express goes brum brum.
Brum brum.
Yeah.
It's back to me?
Yeah, go on then.
Oh, I did loads.
Oh, okay, well, I'll carry them.
My voice is sore.
Raw General Chats. Karim Hanarif says, as a viewer, I felt like I had to suffer through 3 hours to see Bobby win the title. Maybe I got worked or whatever, but I found this episode unbearable. If I couldn't skip through segments, I would have switched off. Yeah, this is a proper, just watch the YouTube highlights episode of Raw. And the matches between Bobby and Miz were so short that they could easily be Raw clips. Stephen,
I do think it's a good idea to extend it throughout the night, though. I do stand by that. If the rest of the show was better, or to a normal standard, you'd have a completely different view on it.
Stephen Guzman, I completely agree with the Roman Drew comparison. Even though I became down on Drew, it was nowhere near the level of Roman. Plus, there was stuff I enjoyed with Drew in his reign. I just wasn't into the super respectful, nice guy vibe. That's fair. Jack Higgs, can we please give credit to The Miz for doing the job he was asked to do, no matter how distasteful it may have been? I wouldn't say it was distasteful, but yeah, Miz is good in that role. I just think it was better served for a new character.
Yeah, we were never down on Miz. We were down on WWE pushing Miz like this. Even if it was to just, it doesn't make sense with the briefcase, whatever.
Just no, yes. Can the amazing female talent get at least 1 hour of 3 hours, please? Please. Looking forward to Quizzlemania. Yeah, there were 2 women's matches on the show, and they both went a very, very short amount of time.
Yeah, I don't know why they're not doing it better.
Leon Quashi, Mr. Davis is the raw mark. 4 out of 5 for this show. Are you missing out on your Khan coin? Then again, Raw started and ended well. Everything in the middle wasn't good at all. I agree, 4 out of 5 relative to other Raws. Shame about Asuka and Shayna and Naomi and...
That's what it all is. It's a relative, ever-changing, inconsistent scale. Compared to the Raws this year, this is a 4 out of 5 Raw.
Sub-Zero 1995, Flair doesn't need a title every 24-7. Let Rhea challenge Asuka instead. Is it just me or who finds it weird how commenters call Charlotte a veteran or a legend? Like I've never seen them refer to any of the other horsewomen as that. What are your thoughts?
Well, she said specifically, they don't call me a legend or a veteran. In her promo, she said, they call me Charlotte Flair. And I thought, what a crap line that is. They call me Ollie Davis. I would prefer to be called a legend.
Absolutely.
It's just what WWE do. They've got their favorites and they push them regardless of whether they connect or not with the fans.
Yeah. Michael Avon said it was very convenient that Nia and Naomi didn't go 15 minutes with only 10 minutes on the counter for the first Bobby versus Miz. Bibby versus Moz. Thank you for all your hard work.
Whew, I bet the producers were like, oh, dodged the bullet there.
Kevin says, also, I hope Miz could get something out of all of this. Maybe drop... Oh, Kevin, you are asking too much here. Drop the goofiness, the tag team with Morrison, go back to being the serious Miz. Make the squash mean something to him, not just have him come back next week and tell jokes. Kevin, I think this idea of serious Miz is long gone. Like, Talking Smack was 5 years ago. It was a long time ago.
He's in a feud with Bad Bunny.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Karim, as a viewer, oh no, we had that one. Watcher Whatever says, while I want Drew to get a crowd moment at WrestleMania that he didn't get last year, I feel that Lashley deserves to go to WrestleMania as champ. Bobby versus Brock is a great matchup, but it wouldn't hurt to add Drew to it. Drew versus Brock versus Bobby, 3 tigers tearing each other apart. I'm less into a 3-way than I am a singles match. I've got to be honest.
I also don't think it's happening. I don't think Lesnar's coming back. I'm not going to put good money on it.
Raffman, I laughed quite loudly during the Orton segment, but I don't think that was the desired effect. It was just so ridiculous.
He's becoming the Fiend. That Hyperchat said it. That's what this is building to.
Heavy Metal Mike, Luke undersold the Randy segment transition. Byron said his line, then there was a 2-second pause, and then Mrs. Awesome started. It's so madly awkward.
Big Mike, what do you guys think about Edge? Will he just take the L to Roman to fully put him over and ride off into the sunset? Or do you think they put the belt on him for ratings?
The Edge one I find very interesting is Roman, because Roman, I don't think Edge is the guy to take the belt off of Roman. But the storyline of Edge in this old man Logan era of his career with the belt, and it's not him going off into the sunset. His plan is to be full-time this year. I think could be a really cool story to tell. This grizzled veteran who just sort of, is holding on to the belt.
Yeah, maybe if Edge does win it, it should be a sort of not that long, and he should put it back to Roman relatively quickly. But yeah, they sort of put themselves into a corner there. Wilson Simons, WWE's lack of TT is obvious. Tag teams. If you had to make Franken teams with guys on the same brand, who would it be? For me, it's T-Bar and Keith Lee. Get a bit of Dijakovic and Lee going. Drew Gulak and Ricochet, or Matt Riddle and Garza, and Umberto.
I'm not into Frank. Like, you got a bunch of tag teams down in NXT. Like, the Grizzled Young Veterans are literally one of the best tag teams that you have signed to and they're in America. Like, I mean, you need like a lot of tag teams in there. You can do some Franken teams as well, I guess, but I'm less into Franken teams. I'm more into like cohesive units.
Edge, Christian.
There you go.
It's right there. Or Aleister Black, Ricochet. Come on, guys. Ben Greenwood. I went back and watched NXT clips and Enzo and Cass's Raw debut. They had the crowd in the palm of their hand. Honestly, the most disappointed I've been with a call-up. Swaff Nation came from those guys. Would love to see them climb back there.
Yeah, there was a period of time in NXT where everyone was like, "This is the new age Outlaws." Like, this is going to catch fire, and then, in a way, it sort of did. And one of my proudest moments of working at WrestleTalk was when someone took a sign that said "Swaffed" to a Raw show, because that's what we said, and Brian Alvarez took them to task on Twitter, being like, Big Cass literally spells it out for you and you spelled it wrong.
The DS Davis, 4 out of 5. Ollie, would you rate a turd and booger sandwich good if the bread is artisan? Well, of course. And I'll pay premium prices for it and wash it down with an expensive coffee. Leon Quashi, Meanwhile, in Japan, Kota Ibushi has just drawn godly amounts of heel heat by having the IWGP IC and heavyweight belts unified. Just look at the like-dislike bar of New Japan's announcement. MJF would be blushing at the amount of hate. Well, I knew that was happening. I didn't know there was such a backlash.
I haven't seen any backlash to that at all. I really haven't. That's interesting, though. I mean, actually, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world, really, because there's too many belts in New Japan. And so it just makes sense to just unify those titles.
It's quite, both have such long lineages, the Intercontinental title as well with, the Nakamura stuff. But I just, I assumed that was going to happen.
Yeah,
I think we all did.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. I'm just trying to find the video. I can't see it. I can't see it anywhere.
There's literally every New Japan fan hates all of it. Yeah.
WrestleTalk Podcast says, that's us. My name is Luke My name is Luke Andoroli, and I just can't express how much I love Rich. He is just the best. And then it's got the word test written over and over and over again. So I think that was us testing the
it looks like
Hyperchat link earlier.
Rich was doing some tests, and our moderators put it into the document.
The Poet's Poet says, is there going to be an Olena Davis appearance at Quizzlemania Evolution this week? No, there's not. Because that would be distasteful for the person who said that. But I went and got one of the rapid tests at our local testing station. And before they did it, some lady came up and said, I'm from the council. I'd love to take a photo of you to encourage more people to go out and get a test. And I had my WrestleTalk mask on. So I was like, okay. And they took the thing. And I filled out my name, Oliver Davis. They posted it on Instagram, the Waltham Forest Instagram, a picture of me. And they've written my name as, Oldina Daviso.
And your handwriting isn't that bad because you've got quite blocky handwriting, so it's very clear to see what it is.
So I've got a new alias now. Dartrain24. I left work after a panic attack yesterday. I recently lost my brother a year to the day after that my dad died. Listening to the February Best of podcast, my tears turned to tears of laughter. Thank you so much. And Ollie, you were singing Goldberg's theme. The Quizzlemania there.
It literally does say, well done to Old Aris. Old Aris.
I'm so sorry to hear about that, Dart Train. Hopefully you're doing better now. TBG Miles 35. Hello, Luke and Ollie. An off-topic question, but I would really love to know how you guys started. I remember watching WrestleTalk on Challenge TV, and I'm really interested how you and Luke and the rest of the guys got it to where it is today. While the contract with Challenge ended, and I was directing and producing that show at the time. And I was like, well, let's give the YouTube side a go. And it grew out of that, really.
And then I came on board after that. I'd done some stuff with the Challenge TV era as well. I was doing a podcast recently for my other podcast, Patreon. It was a Patreon-exclusive podcast. And we were reviewing an episode of Finders Keepers, which was an old CITV challenge show with Neil Buchanan. And at the end of it, it was just another great episode of Finders Keepers, but tonight, like a doctor with a surgical precision through a frog, we will dissect the latest wrestling outcomes with WrestleTalk TV coming up later today.
Whoa!
I know. I didn't hear. Ash pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Oh my god, yeah!" They were plugging our old show on this. It's up there on YouTube. I just want to say as well, I'm very sorry to Dartrain24. It felt like I was a bit dismissive of the message that he sent because I was so distracted by that Instagram post. I'm very, very sorry. That was really bad of me. So it's awful.
Oh, I'm sure Dartrain forgives you. Patrick Cooper, Luke, your 54-minute Uno game has gotten me through the worst of times lately. All I'm going to say is stack it. Jam that jam.
Oh, man. ES word, Blair. But yeah, it was a very funny video.
And finally, Micah Pellegrini, WrestleMania 37 match, Bad Bunny versus Soulja Boy for the 24/7 championship. That whole interaction with Randy Orton made me laugh really hard. Soulja Boy called WWE fake. Who should be his Damien Priest equivalent? Also, which Revolution match are you most excited for? Matt Hardy versus Hangman Page. Genuinely.
It's the exploding barbed wire death match for me. I'm so curious to see what they're going to do. I think they are going to get like hell for leather with it as well. I'm also really like excited by the 6-person ladder match as well.
Yeah, but it looks like a boring card, Luke, doesn't it?
So, yeah, Louis Dangor in our morning meeting this morning, I'm honestly convinced he said it just to try and work Ollie Davis, and it worked. He just said, I don't think there's a single person who's excited for Revolution. It's a really boring card.
I was just like, anything anyone else wants to go through this morning? Beat. I don't think AEW is very good. That's how it went. What the hell? Who would you pick as Soulja Boy's wrestling proxy?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm sure that Soulja Boy is a famous rapper person, but I don't know, like...
Superman go, oh! Isn't he that guy?
Is he the Whip It Nene lad?
Sure.
I don't know. Exposing my lack of knowledge here, but I don't know. I mean, it's probably Damien Priest again. Like, maybe that's going to be his new gimmick, because he just feuds or teams with rappers that come in.
There's an extra Randy Orton line around. You put Randy Orton with Bad Bunny, and Damien Priest turns heel, goes with Soulja Boy. And there is the death of Damien Priest on the main roster. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. Let's just quickly check how many subscribers we've got. You failed. All of you have failed us. I'm so disappointed in you. We've got 39.7 thousand.
I think about only 40 people subscribed during the entire stream.
200 more, 207 more. Hopefully we'll do it by the end of the week.
There's literally 2,000 people still watching.
Luke, what do we got coming up this week?
Well, first off, we've got a super chat from Richard Holt, who says, hi, boys, catching the stream late. Have a great day. Well, thank you very, very much.
Subscribe, Rich.
It's going to be a great week as well, because tomorrow we have got AEW Revolution predictions. It's going to be myself, Mr. Davis, and El Fakador, our Jam That Champion, going through the entire card and, getting our predictions for that. On Thursday, it will be myself and Mr. Davis reviewing AEW Dynamite. On Friday, we're going live, baby. We're live, pal. Myself and Denise Salcedo with the WrestleTalk Podcast magazine show, going through your Patreon mailbag questions. And on Saturday, we're live again, pal. Pete and Andy will be reviewing SmackDown. And then on Sunday, we're live again, pal. AEW Revolution reactions. It's myself, Mr. Davis, El Fakador. It is a busy, busy week here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. So please do consider subscribing.
Yeah, it's just a shame Revolution doesn't look like there's going to be a good match on the card.
No,
but for now,
single one.
I've been Mr. Davis. This has been Lukewarm Luke Owen. Go watch the WrestleTalk news up from earlier today on the WrestleTalk channel. Jam that frickin' jam.
Jam that jam, everyone.
Look at my hairy arm.
Ooh, look at my...